Welcome everyone to PTE Plus online lessons. Today we're going to be focusing on the essay part for the writing section of the exam. In particular, we're going to be practicing one question. So, in today's session, we're going to be reviewing some of the concepts and some of the lessons we learned in previous sessions, as well as looking at how we can apply it in a particular practice question. So first of all, this is our question. Large shopping malls are replacing small shops. What is your opinion about this, and discuss with appropriate examples? So remember, the first thing we do when we see a question is we use around 30 seconds of our preparation time to try to fully understand the question, making sure that we don't miss out on any aspects of the question. Because remembering, if we get the question wrong, then we'll end up losing all our content marks. So what we're doing here is we're identifying the keywords in the question. Large shopping malls, that's the first keyword. Replacing small shops, so that's what's happening, and what your opinion about it. Also, it wanted us to provide examples. So once we've identified the keywords within the question, we can move on to the brainstorming phase. Because it's asking about small shops replacing larger shops, or rather larger shops replacing smaller shops, we need to be able to look at both the pros and cons. So in other words, the advantages and disadvantages. Using the method that I taught you guys earlier, we write the topic, pros and cons of big shops, in which case we then present the pros, which are it's comfortable, it saves time, there's good quality services, and cons, which could include it's more crowded and longer distance from home. So remember, it's very logical the way we're presenting our information. We have the topic, we have our present point, and we have an extension on the point. Likewise, on the other side of the coin, the pros and cons of small shops. The pros would be that it's convenient, it's close to residential areas, it's hospitable, and with cons we can have limited choices and oversized products. So once we've figured out the pros and cons of small shops and the pros and cons of big shops, we can go back to the question, right? Larger shopping malls are replacing shopping malls. What is your opinion? Now, it doesn't matter if your opinion is in support of this or your opinion is against this. You can use this in both ways. So pick whatever you feel like is going to be easier for you to be discussing, and always pick what's more comfortable for you. Remember, with these sort of pros and cons questions and what you prefer, there's no such thing as a right or wrong opinion. It's whatever feels more natural to you. And as long as you're discussing it, the particular question, with good examples, there's no reason why you can't get full marks with either position. So we're going to present a point of view here. My point of view is that bigger malls provide a much better shopping experience. And once we've identified our point of view, we can then sort of have it in this sort of table format. Our point of view is that bigger malls provide a much better shopping experience. Once we've come up with this, we can take our main ideas of why bigger malls are better. It's more comfortable because there are bigger shops, there's going to be air conditioning, there's going to be more services. It saves time because we don't have to be spending time driving around everywhere. We don't have to go from store to store for kilometers and kilometers. Instead, everything's just right next to it. And finally, good quality services. Because these are bigger companies, they're more likely to provide things like warranties, they're more likely to provide more services and perhaps more staff members because they have a bigger budget. Now we've figured out what our main ideas are, we can sort of branch out from the main ideas into supporting evidence. In terms of comfort, bigger malls are likely to be huge, which is a benefit. We aren't crowded in, they're enclosed, air conditioned, there's no sun, there's no rain, fully equipped with facilities like food courts, movie theaters, and playing areas. So essentially everything to make us feel comfortable. If we're bored, we have movie theaters, and if we're hungry, we've got food courts. Saves time because, like I said earlier, it's a one-stop shop. You've got everything under the same roof. You want to do some grocery shopping, go to the supermarket. You want to buy some clothes, go to the clothing shops. And if you're bored, go watch a movie. It increases our efficiency. Instead of having to travel from one place to the next, find parking again and again. Finally, good quality service. Because bigger shops often have more training for the staff, there's more standardization in terms of staff training, and also you can get refund and exchanges based on what you purchase and if you aren't satisfied with something else. So you can see here, through our supporting evidence and our main ideas, we can come to the result, which is the same thing as the point of view, that shopping in bigger malls can be more comfortable and far more enjoyable. And you can see here that we've got this sort of structure where we've got a point of view, and then we branch out, extend into main ideas, further extend into supporting evidence, and then come back once around again to the results. So now let's think about vocabulary. Remember what we said about vocabulary? Vocabulary needs to be specific and it needs to be broad in terms of range. So some words to look at now are replace. Replace. Remember how we had the word replace in the question? We can think of other ways of expressing the word replace. So instead of writing the word replace again and again and again and again in our actual essay, we can think of different ways of expressing it. And remember, we can either choose to find an alternative for replace in the form of something academic or in the form of something that is colloquial. If you're looking for something academic to take replace's place, you might look at alternative, which is harder and more complex. Or we can go the colloquial route, which is take place of. For big shopping malls, we can say large shopping centers. And for smaller shops, we can always use words like corner shops, convenience shops, and groceries. So these all mean the same thing, and it helps to add variety in our vocabulary. For advantages and disadvantages, it's good to have a lot of words prepared in these two categories in advance: pros and cons, benefits and merits, problems and drawbacks. So it's good to prepare these sort of words in advance, especially with words that are relating to explaining what you think. And it's also good to have words that are specific for each particular question. So you can use those 2 minutes to fully engage in thinking about what sort of vocabulary you want to use. And as a result, we're going to be increasing the quality of our response. We also have to think about grammatical choices. Remember, we have different types of sentences. We've got our complex sentences, we've got our compound sentences, and we've got our simple sentences. And it's not that if we write everything in complex sentences, it's better. Rather, it's good to have a variety, a mixture of everything. We need to have a few simple sentences, a few compound sentences, and a few complex sentences. And it's this variety which is going to contribute to overall better writing. And it will be a lot easier for us to do rather than writing everything in the most complex way possible. So let's have a look at the framework of the essay. This is the skeleton of our essay. We're going to start off with the introduction point of view. Then we're going to go into the first advantage of big malls, advantage 2, advantage 3, before finishing it off in a conclusion. So you can see here that it's very logical, and it's exactly like the way you'd write an essay in a university, except for everything's a bit shorter here and you don't need to do as much research, and everything's a lot more colloquial. So that's the big difference here. So remember this framework, and if you're running out of time, obviously just get rid of one of the advantages. 2 advantages will be enough. And if you have time, maybe we can go with 3 advantages. But remember, keep it within the word limit, because we don't want to be penalized for having too many words or too few words. Okay, let's try a sentence together now. Remember, we're talking about the benefits of big malls. We're thinking about advantages, in which case it'd be comfortable, and we're providing some supporting arguments as to why it's comfortable. Let's read the sentence together. With a huge enclosed space in a shopping mall, consumers can shop in a safe and comfortable environment that is fully equipped with facilities such as food courts, cinemas, and many other attractions. Notice how we have conjunctions like and, right? And here, it's an example of a compound sentence, and we have a word here, that. That is creating a subordinate clause, which is an example of a complex sentence. Notice how in our sentence, we immediately go into the advantages of it being comfortable with providing us with further supporting examples. And that's exactly what we're sort of looking for in a sentence. We're looking for a mixture of different vocabulary as well as different grammatical structures. So once we've got our sentence, let's mash it together in an entire paragraph. Larger malls, without any doubt, have much more comfortable shopping experiences to offer. With their huge enclosed space, consumers can shop in a safe and comfortable environment that is fully equipped with facilities such as food courts, cinemas, and many other attractions. Actually, customers can stay in a single mall for a whole day, shopping, dining, and relaxing. Therefore, shopping in these venues can be comparatively cozier, more enjoyable, and entertaining. Now, this paragraph might not seem very special to you. What was unique about that particular paragraph is that we followed a very set structure. So we have a skeleton, right? A model of what a paragraph is like. And obviously your paragraphs don't have to always look exactly like this, but having a good set idea of what a structure is in our mind can obviously sort of take our mind and take the burden of trying to think of what to write, what sentence goes next, what sentence goes next. But instead, we can just think about slotting in the required content information and not worry about things like structure and grammar as much. So we started the paragraph off with a topic sentence, without a doubt, before going on to an explanation, and another explanation, before going to a summary. And with explanations, we have two set explanations. The first explanation includes the word with, and the second one includes the word actually. Obviously, therefore is a great way to include and summarize the topic, but it's not essential. You can always change it for other words, whatever feels more comfortable and natural for you. So you can see larger moles without a doubt, our introduction, our topic sentence with their blah blah blah, our first explanation, actually customers can stay, our second explanation, and therefore shopping in these menus, in these malls, can be comparatively cozier. So here we have a conclusion. And once you sort of have this sort of set structure for every single paragraph, it's going to make it a lot easier for us to have things like complex and compound sentences, as well as know just how much we need to write. And it controls a lot of the variables. So if you have time, try writing a few paragraphs using this structure and see if it helps you. And of course, you can change it around to make it comfortable and unique to yourself. So, to conclude today's lesson, I want to recap on a few things. Always remember to have a clear understanding of the topic. Even if it means taking 30 seconds to read the question 3 times, do it. It's only with a good understanding of the topic can we proceed by having good content. Be crystal clear in your point of view and main ideas. Always express your view first. Don't go into ideas, don't go into your arguments. Whatever you think is good, wait for you to express your point of view first. Before writing, have the 2 points fully prepared, and finally, arrange your time in a reasonable way. Make sure you're allocating your time for each particular section of the paragraph. Because we have a structure for what our essay is going to be, introduction, argument 1, argument 2, argument 3, summary, we want to make sure we're spending an equal amount of time on each section as to not compromise the structure of our essay. Thank you for joining me today on PTE Plus Online. I hope to see you again very soon.